Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming back to the Moms Living a Life They Love Summit, where I am just having a great time talking to moms across the nation about how they balance both career and family. And today's guest I'm super excited about. She's a friend of mine, a local Denver professional. Her name is Holly Scott. She is the mother of two adorable boys and a wife, and she is the publisher of Mountain Living and Colorado Homes and Lifestyles magazine. So Holly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Brooke. I'm so happy you invited me.
Yes, I just love connecting with you, love your energy. So where do we start? How about you start with just telling us a little bit about your family life?
Okay, well, my family life is my greatest accomplishment. I have a very wonderful, supportive husband. Very, very fortunate in that realm. And as you mentioned, I have two great boys, just smart and growing and fun, and I adore them. So I think we're very much homebodies on the weekends because we really like to just be together and enjoy our time together. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, well, tell us about what you do professionally and how that kind of works out with juggling wife and mommy and all those other things.
So professionally, I'm the publisher of two home design magazines, architectural magazine brands. I manage a team of 19 people, and we produce about 15 issues a year. And two very active websites in addition to that. So I am quite busy managing all of that. And so juggling that with kids and a marriage is always a challenge. But I think that I have learned after 15 years of being with this particular company, I've learned a way to do it that makes me feel fulfilled in all of those areas and calm. I have a lot of people that tell me that I'm cheery and positive, and I think it's because I have found, I don't think it's a secret, but just kind of a secret sauce or something to managing everything. And it doesn't rely on being perfect. So I'll talk a little bit about how I've done that.
Yeah, I was going to say, so what are some of the ingredients in the not perfect but really helpful secret sauce? We are dying to hear these tidbits. Because I know that you travel a lot for work and you're pulled in a lot of different directions and you're always on the go, but I also know that you're so active as a mommy with your kids and their sport and their school and just everything and baking cookies on the holidays. So tell us about your secret sauce.
My secret sauce is that I make the time for my family. My family is my priority, no matter what. So I always, I just was traveling this past week in LA, and when I got back, I immediately bake in a day where I am not going to have a lot of meetings and where I'm able to pick up the kids after school because I've been gone. So I make that a big priority. If I've been gone or I have a lot of evening events. And so I make sure that if that has been going on, kind of in a row, there's been a lot going on, it's very intense at work, that then I take a day or two immediately following that kind of craziness to then reconnect with my kids and the family, always making time for them. And yes, I love to bake. So I always make time to bake for the kids. Whenever they have parties at school, that's the one thing I feel like I could really commit to, because you can bake at midnight, which I do sometimes, and so that I can do that for them.
That's funny that you say that, because that's actually come up in this interview series around if we have a deadline as moms, whether it's professional or baking for our kids' class, we will be up at midnight making those cookies, but we will deliver always.
Yeah, always deliver.
We just get a little creative with how we do it.
That's right. That's right. One of my best friends always says, if you need something done, ask a busy person. Ask a busy person.
Yes. So did you have your kids before the career, or did you have the career and then decided to start and grow your family? And what was that decision like for you? Or what did you come up against in that kind of planning?
So I started the career first. Always knew I wanted a family. Always, always. In fact, on my very first date with my husband, I was a very no-nonsense person about this and very direct. And I said, listen, I don't even want to start dating you unless I know that you want the same things I want. I said it on the first date. So I made sure that he was a family man, and he was. So that was the first thing. So I've had the career first, and got promoted at crazy times. I got engaged, we bought our first house, and I got a promotion, was promoted to publisher of one of the magazines, all in the same year.
Wow.
So that was the craziest year of my life, except when I had my first child, and then that was the craziest year of my life. So you find out a lot about yourself. You find out that you can do it. You find out that it's going to be okay, and that you can make it all happen and make it work. But I think that I've always been very clear about my boundaries, and when I'm doing too much and when I'm overloaded. Mm-hmm. And I'm very open about that with my team. Very open about that. Because, you can be pushed to, we all have limits that we can be pushed to. So.
Yeah. And I was going to say, how do you sense or become aware that you're being pushed to your limit? And then what do you do to reclaim that boundary? Because, in my experience, it's so important to have those boundaries and to communicate them, but you're absolutely right. People will still rub up against them and want more and more and expect more and more. And so we have to continuously reestablish what that looks like. But how do you know you're hitting that point of, all right, I got to reel it in?
Yes. Well, one of the sure signs is when you get sick, right? When we get sick, we know we've given out too much of ourselves. I think that I always think about it as, you're only one person, right? You're one person, and there's bits of you that kind of get spread out throughout the day to everything and every person, mission, problem, something you're supposed to solve or do, right? And those pieces kind of get spread out. And there's a point where you find yourself where there's nothing else to give. You fall into bed at night and you can't even read a book. You can't even have a conversation with your husband because you're so tired. So when I'm at that point, I know that I've spread myself too thin and it's time to reel it in. Mm-hmm. And so the art of balance is so important, and I work on it every day. I don't think that anyone has perfected it. I mean, I think that's why this topic is so important, because balance it's a daily practice, like yoga, and I do a lot of yoga. It's a practice. It's not like an achievement. Like, I've done it. I am I am queen of balance. Yeah. I think that we're constantly striving to get it right. It's an art form. It really is.
Absolutely. And that's becoming so clear throughout this process and talking to so many moms. Is moms are looking for this equation that they can follow to feel balanced, but different things work for different moms. But I think it really is about tuning your attention inward and listening to your body and your health and listening to your family and just course correcting and making adjustments every day to make the best, to create the best balance you can. But yeah, I've never felt like I've arrived. Everything is so balanced. It's just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think that happens. And I think you're exactly right. And I think that we all have good days. We all have challenging days. We all have days where we forget the kids' lunches, or we drive to work with our coffee on the roof of our car, or we show up to work and we have two different shoes on. These are all things I've done, right? And it's okay. It's okay. I think that, oftentimes people who have had a successful career, we've gotten there because many of us are probably the type A personalities that, always did, and I'm making some assumptions, but, I was a good student and I was always involved in a lot of extracurricular activities and always had the big to-do list and was knocking that stuff off every day. But then once you have kids, you realize that kind of A+ person you are is really, really hard to achieve. So you're kind of okay with being like the B+ person, you know, but it's still good. It's good enough. It's good enough, you know? So I think that's really important to me. It's just not having guilt about it, eliminating the guilt, and being vulnerable to what might happen throughout the day and what's next. Because we can schedule as much as we can, we can prioritize as much as we can, but we all know that, you know, sometimes somebody calls you from school and your child's sick, or, you know, soccer practice runs late, or you didn't get to get that report done that you need for work because you're exhausted. You know, you're baking cookies.
Exactly. And you're hitting on such an important block that I think so many women come up against. And it's this idea of what we should be, this struggle with perfectionism. We used to be this A+ person. Why can't we, you know, be the perfect mother, perfect wife, perfect publisher, perfect friend, perfect neighbor? And how do you get to a place where you can laugh about and accept that you drove off with the coffee on the top of the car? How do you release those expectations and really give yourself permission to make mistakes or to be a B+?
Well, there's a couple of things. One for me is being vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Like I said, just being vulnerable to what may be, and that it's okay, that you're good enough, you know, you're good enough. And it's great. Not that you're just good enough, you're great. Because there's a lot, you know, there's a lot that we're all managing throughout the day. The other thing that I do is I delegate whenever possible. I ask for help whenever possible. I always have 1 or 2 friends at my children's schools who are my advocates, meaning they are there for me, telling me the things that I may have missed because I'm a working mom. Mm-hmm. You know, they're telling me, hey, don't forget to bring a shoebox in tomorrow for the project. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, because they know that I may have missed that because I've been on 2 planes, or I was at an event last night for work, or, you know, I've been deep within working on budgets or something. So I always tend to have these wonderful friends in my life that know that I'm not just missing things because it's not for lack of trying. It's just that, you know, sometimes you can't know and do everything perfectly every day. You just can't.
Absolutely. So surrounding yourself with support is a huge part of this equation as well. Yeah. And you said asking for help. Why is it so hard for us as women to ask for help? And how did you get to a place where you just do it?
You get to a place where you ask for help because there's just no other option, you know. And I know friends that, you know, they have a cleaning person because they're like, I can't handle it anymore, you know, or they have someone that picks up the duty of doing laundry, or, you know, I know a lot of friends that are doing grocery delivery because they're like, gosh, you know, I spend my weekends running around, running all the errands, and don't get to spend time with my family. So trying to do some of these things that make your life easier, I think, is, you know, really important, so that you have that time with your family, so you can be really present. You know, when you have the time off, you're really present. And I always say, you know, work when it's work time and play when it's play time, so that you really do have that division. I think it's hard in this day and age to kind of turn off, because we're expected to be on, because we have these devices that tell us we can be on at all times, or we should be on at all times. But you don't have to be. You know, you don't have to be, but I think that you have to communicate that to your teams and to your boss, letting them know, hey, these are the times that I can be on, and these are the times that I can't. Or, you know, letting them know your limits. And if you are, if you're worth it, you have value in your company or in your position, your career, your own business, people understand that, and they will give that to you. They will give you that gift of being able to take off.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I always encourage people, if asking for help or setting a boundary or stating what you need, like saying I'm not going to answer my email after 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, if that feels really scary and really difficult for you, start small and try just in one area of your life, ordering the grocery service or asking your husband to do the laundry, or saying no to something that someone's asking you to do, and see what happens. And you'll be surprised that most people will absolutely respect and honor that. And that only builds that confidence that you can keep saying no, you can keep asking for help. No one's going to run and abandon you because you're human, right, and have other things going on. But, a lot of people have a story they tell themselves about, if I ask for help, I'm weak. Or if I set a boundary, maybe I'll be fired. But some of the women, including you, have done really bold, courageous things and asked for what they needed and have always been accommodated because, it's normal and you bring value. So that's so important.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And all we can do is ask, right? I mean, it's worth asking. And, you mentioned, asking the husband to do laundry. I think that, having it, I'm so very fortunate in having a partner on this team. This is our team, that he, not only does he support me in my career, but he is such a care provider at our home. I mean, he is just incredible with the kids, with me, supporting me with, travel that I have to do and events that I need to attend and speaking engagements and all of that. So, it's so mutual. I mutually respect him and he mutually respects me and knows when we need help and we need to lean on each other for that help. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think we're kind of touching on just throwing gender roles out the window and saying, if, the weeds need to be pulled, I don't care who does it, just somebody needs to. If the dishes need to be done,
yeah,
and my husband cleans, I cook, he cleans, I kill the spiders. That's just what it is. I like to do the outdoor stuff, but as a team,
yes,
it doesn't matter who does it, just don't be afraid to kind of get your hands dirty in the different things, or having dad, show up for the meeting instead of mom at school, whatever it is.
Exactly. And, throughout the years, you have to be willing to change. And I think that's another way I've kind of stayed successful in career and family and kind of managing all of it, is that I embrace the change. There's going to be times where, it's been the last 10 years that my husband's been managing all the finances. And it's that's great because I have to manage all the finances at work. So I don't want to manage the finances at home. But sometimes that will switch. He used to be the person that takes out the trash. Now it's me for some reason. I'm just up before everybody. So I take out the trash. No big deal. But now we're starting to, delegate a lot of these tasks to the kids. And that's been really eye-opening for me at realizing they're so much more capable of what I think we give them credit for sometimes. So sometimes, I'll be so, busy, like I said, running around or unpacking for a trip or packing for a trip, and someone's looking for their soccer socks always, every day. And what's funny? They can find those socks. Sometimes if you just say, I can't help you, honey, I've got to go, I'm late for this meeting or whatever, they're going to find those socks and they're going to be okay. And they may be wearing 2 mismatched socks, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
I'm laughing, and I'm sure there's a lot of moms who are laughing too, because we have all heard, where's the soccer socks? So many times it's painful.
Yes.
It's just nobody knows where anything is except for mom. We're the hub of information, but yes, they're perfectly capable of finding it on their own. So delegating and, and empowering others to help you too.
Yes. And that goes for at work as well. It's amazing to me how many people, at first they think, when they start, working with me or along with me, they think I'm going to be able to solve all the problems and that I have all the answers. And what happens is if you let some things just kind of go for a little while, not because you don't want to be helpful, but because you just can't get to it, they oftentimes find the solutions on their own. And that's empowering to them, and that helps them grow as an employee and as a contributor to the business as well. So I try to do that as often as I can.
Smart. I love
And let
it.
them know too, there's no true emergencies. I always say this is a magazine, not a hospital. So so there's really no emergencies. And so that I make that very clear with everyone that I work with. The only true emergencies are when my kids are, bleeding. So that's it. So I tell people to emails to me. If anyone, puts in the subject line urgent or emergency, that is one of my biggest pet peeves. And I oftentimes delete it, because if it really is a true, emergency in their minds, they should, call me, contact me, and, then we can kind of get to the bottom of it. But, I think that oftentimes everyone's emergency, it doesn't have to be my emergency. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's, that I've learned. And it's taken me, years to really kind of ingrain that in everyone.
Definitely. And I feel like that's part of giving ourselves permission. If we can change our mindset around everything isn't an emergency, even the cookies, getting everywhere on time. Of course we want to be on time, but nothing really is an emergency. So we don't have to emotionally invest in it as if it is.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Awesome. Well, we've talked about a lot of different things, but what would you say has been just the biggest challenge or struggle that you've come up against balancing career and family?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges, and I work on it every single day, is being a master at my schedule and prioritizing. It's a challenge because if you allow others to kind of arrange your schedule or book their own appointments into your schedule, then you find yourself with absolutely no time for anything else but work, right? And I think a lot of us tend to do that. So one thing that I started about 5 years ago is that I block out my schedule first. I own my schedule. No one owns my schedule but me. But the thing that I do is I block in mandatory, unrelenting self-care. And what does that mean? I make sure that I have time to prep for meetings, an hour block before meetings, an important meeting. I make sure that I block in time to exercise. It's in my calendar every week, just like a business appointment would be. So if someone says, are you available from 11 to 12, and I have on here, that's the time I'm running or I'm going to a yoga class, then I'm not available. And so that's really kind of, I think, a unique concept. I haven't heard of too many people that do that, because the exercise and the taking care of yourself usually slips to the bottom as a working mom. It becomes the last thing on the list. And for me, taking care of myself is so important, because then I can be available to everyone else and be good for everyone else, have the energy for everyone else.
That's such an important part, I think, to touch on is, we can't serve from an empty well. And how do we reprioritize self-care? And you're so right. It always falls to the bottom of the list. And I always hear, which is a limiting belief, by the way. I always hear, I don't have time, I can't. But really, if you own your schedule, which at the end of the day, guys, we all do, you book it in just as if it was an important client meeting or an interview or anything else. You book it in and you honor it and you treat it just as important as anything else. And you deserve that. Yes. So then it happens, and then you get time away, time to regroup. And all of that is going to benefit all of the things that you're already serving and taking care of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It makes you so much better for everyone. And I know that many people don't believe this, but when I started out in the business, I did not like speaking in front of people. I hated speaking engagements. I detested doing things like that. And now I love it, but I think it's because I have actually spent the time to book in those moments with myself, to kind of rehearse in my mind, what am I going to say? to do a lot of meditation and various practices for me that help me to relax before I have to give a speech or a presentation. And or maybe it's, like I said, going to yoga, because if I'm relaxed, then I know that afternoon I'm giving a presentation and I am going to be calm. My voice is going to be calm. I'm going to be able to really kind of be in tune to what my audience needs from me, and just be really present. Again, it helps me to be present.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I know I feel like if you catch yourself running, literally running from one thing to the next, and you're late, it's like a leapfrog effect. You're late to everything all day long. Yeah. Until you literally like fall into your bed at night, something is off, and we have to take some things off the plate. We have to build in some cushion time, which is what you're talking about. Preparation time, enough time to get from point A to point B, maybe even a little extra in case, you need to use the restroom or get a water or, take on a call that you weren't expecting, but really planning for those transitions and giving yourself permission to have them is so huge in terms of anxiety by the end of the day. And Absolutely. Not rushing all the time, which then it's hard to be present for that presentation when you just came in 5 minutes late.
That's right. That's right. And you start to, I think, to be honest with you, one of the biggest obstacles that I dealt with, and I think many people can relate to this, is when we had the economic downturn. And, I was working more than I've ever worked in my life, as many people were during that time, and, kind of fearful of the future and what might happen. And, I remember working a jam-packed day, not a second to eat, not a second to go to the bathroom, not a second to think about the next meeting. So there was no preparation. It was just blah, like that, crazy. And then at the end of the day, again, crazy, managing kids and life and all of that. And then as soon as they would go to bed, it wasn't like, hi, honey, how was your day? It was right back to the computer, open, work, work, work. And I was working till 1 o'clock in the morning most nights during those years. Those were, tough years. And I just remember feeling resentful about, my job, the economy, that I didn't have enough time for anybody. And like you said, I wasn't being filled up, I had no time for me. And you start to really get on edge, and you start to lose kind of that passion and that heart for why you even started out in your career. And you start to kind of be resentful because you don't have the time with the kids that you want. You miss them. You miss having that valuable present time with them. So, as soon as I kind of had that big realization, and it took me a while, I really kind of just stopped everything and said, no more. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to keep up this crazy schedule anymore. I'm going to call the shots, and I'm going to make my schedule, and I'm going to make me a priority, then my family, then my career. And as soon as I did that, things started to get better. Things started to change. I was better at work. Business came back. I wasn't so, fretting about everything all the time and stressing out. I was calm.
I love that. It's basically you were sucked into the black hole of work and like what I think naturally we fall into so easily. And maybe there's moms out there listening that are there right now, working till 1 a.m. and feeling out of balance and feeling resentful and exhausted and not filled up. But it's about reclaiming your power and in making choices that are going to serve you and what your values are first, and trusting that things are not going to fall apart when you make that choice. And it's your choice to make. And I'm not saying it's easy, because I know you making that shift was probably not easy to do, but the ripple effect that happened after that is exactly what we're trying to move towards.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just like you said, it's making the choices and making the right choices for you. And, and not settling for, you know, a life that you don't want. You know, you don't want to, never settle, never settle. You know, make sure that you only have one life to live, right? So let's make sure it's something that we're enjoying. Your career, you're having time to enjoy your family, your marriage, which I know sometimes marriage, you know, even takes more of a back seat when we have children and career, and making sure that that's a priority and that's booked into the schedule. Hey, when are we going to have a date night? When are we going to go talk? And oftentimes we, you know, spend time with our calendars at the restaurant, like, okay, but that's okay. You know, we have a good laugh about it. And, but that, just having the time for everyone. And you're right. It's hard to break free of the madness, but I promise as soon as you do it, life just changes for you.
That's awesome. So plan your date night / planning meeting with your
Yeah, yes.
No, it's awesome because we're talking about a lot of really helpful things here, like time management and releasing expectations and perfectionism and setting boundaries and reconnecting to values. And it's funny because, you know, you say, I'm not worried about everything being perfect and I'm still working on balance. But as an outsider looking in, to me, it seems like you've got it all worked out and figured out. And I look at what you do professionally and with your kids and your yoga and your running and the way that you are just present and happy and positive and it's authentic every day. It seems to me like you have definitely figured out the secret sauce.
Oh, well, thank you for that.
And that's why I was like, I have to have her on the show because she seems like she's got something that's working a little better than, you know, what I've dealt with before. So Holly, I so appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to just share your story and a little bit about your life and your family and share some really helpful words of wisdom to the moms out there. And I know that you've got a really cool giveaway. So
Yeah.
what do you got for us?
Okay, so I am going to be giving away 1 year subscription to Colorado Homes and Lifestyles magazine and 1 year subscription to Mountain Living magazine.
Awesome. Very cool. I love to get design inspiration from these magazines, ladies. So the link to click to access your free gift is in this email that you received to join the interview. So thank you so much for that, Holly. And thank you again so much for being here. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Brooke. I really appreciate being here. Good luck to everyone out there. Take care of you.
All right. Thanks for that final parting message. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.